Last week we were talking about the death of journalism. This week we have Nancy Lichtman, editor of the Leatherneck Magazine, to talk about the state of journalism in 2022 next.
Hey, folks, do you have jewelry that you don't wear anymore? Maybe a watch that's just gathering dust or doesn't work? Well, what if you went to Leo Hamill's and sold it? You could use the cash to get a new gun, maybe take a pistol class. You know, you've been talking about it. So when you sell your used jewelry or watches to Leo Hamill, not only do you get the best deal in town, you are also supporting the Second Amendment. One of the easiest ways to support the Second Amendment is to support our partners like Leo Hamill. Call 619-299-1500. Visit his showroom at San Diego Avenue and always get awesome service at Leo's. Find them online at leohamill.com.
Okay, our next guest is the deputy editor of Leatherneck Magazine and has been in journalism for a couple of decades now at least. And we wanted to have her in. Last week I read an article about the new SIG AR, and the article was so ridiculous. But it was ridiculous because we're gun folks. So we understand that she had absolutely no idea what she was talking about. What we wanted to do was bring in, which happens so often, you know, it was clearly very slanted. It was very opinionated, even though it was disguised as a news article. So we wanted to bring in somebody to talk about it, not from a gun perspective, but from a journalism perspective. Nancy, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Fantastic. So did you have the opportunity to review the article?
I sure did. And I hesitate to endorse even calling it an article because it's little more than a glorified book report.
It kind of was. Okay, so let's talk about your background real quick. You went to college for journalism, right?
Right. I graduated 29 years ago with a degree in communication arts, and my emphasis is print journalism. I have worked in the industry. I worked for a daily newspaper for several years, took a little break to be a stay-at-home mom, and now I am the deputy editor for Leatherneck Magazine. And full disclosure, anything I say today is not the opinion of Leatherneck Magazine or the Marine Corps Association. It's my opinion.
And you're someone who I know values quality journalism. It's something that is important to you. It's something you follow. It's something you talk about. And I think what we want to talk about is what exactly is quality journalism, and using this article maybe as an example. So you call it a glorified book report. Tell us why. What was actually, when we know it was wrong technically, or I should say informationally, you know, regarding firearms, but what about technically? What about the journalism? What was actually wrong with that journalism?
Well, it starts with the headline. So let me just read this headline to you again. A powerful rifle derived from U.S. Army weaponry is going on sale to civilians amid ongoing gun control debates, report says. So just that word report there, what does that make you think? It makes you think that some official and objective study was done by an independent source like a think tank or even a government organization. But the report they're referring to and everything this quote-unquote article references is an opinion piece from the Daily Beast.
Wow. This article was written, and the only source was another article that someone wrote.
Well, there are a couple of other sources, but none of them are primary sources. So, for example, the article makes repeated reference to the Daily Beast reported, is how they phrase it. And there's a link right to that Daily Beast article, which, again, that's not an article either. It's an opinion piece, although it is clearly labeled as such. So the writer of that initial opinion piece in the Daily Beast, I'm not going to get into the particulars of that. He's entitled to his opinion, and he wrote a piece about his opinion and backed it up with quotes and other information. The writer of this piece from Business Insider just went into the opinion piece and pulled quotes out of it. It's like a book report.
Wow. And the other thing, the quotes, the person they were quoting, if memory serves, the person they were quoting was, the person is a political expert with a political slant, not a technical expert. They didn't really know anything about guns. They're a political expert. And the article masqueraded as information about a piece of equipment, a firearm. But it was really just a political opinion piece. Am I wrong? I mean, and part of what I'm saying, part of where I get that from is the person that they quoted, which was a political expert, not a technical expert. Am I off on that, or?
No, that's my understanding. That's also my understanding. And again, this item from Business Insider, I'm not calling it an article anymore, is quoting quotes from an opinion piece. So the whole, it's like a house built on sand. I mean, it can't stand up. But this is, I mean, I see this more and more and more, as opposed to people reporters going out and doing their own reporting, interviewing people. And you talked about, in the introduction, you talked about reporters often getting the information wrong about firearms. Well, I think that happens with so many technical subjects. And I do some writing. I do more than editing. I do some writing. And the first thing I do before I ever interview anybody for any technical type article is I start researching, and then I find a kind of expert in the field who can bring me up to speed on various technical aspects of the article, and someone who's going to be my fact checker when I'm finished. And frequently, if I'm writing about something highly technical, I will feed parts of the article back to the people I interviewed to make sure I got the facts right. Now, they don't get to see the whole article, but just where I quoted and in some of the more technical pieces. For example, I've written about some of the early days of the NASA program, and so the engineers I interviewed, I needed them to make sure that I got it right so that readers don't then get it wrong, and so that it's not out there in print forever wrong.
So, Nancy, this is Joe. I had just a question along those lines, too, with the, how does that stuff get published or get out there? Because you would think that editors are going over that stuff. And I know one of the theories I'd heard that I don't know if it's true or not, but, you hear that there's, it's a 22-year-old reporter being checked by a 25-year-old editor. And have you seen that kind of stuff? Or how does that kind of stuff get past an editor to get published?
Well, it wouldn't get past me at Leatherneck. I haven't been in a newsroom for several decades. And when I last was in a newsroom, I was the young editor in my early 20s, but there were far more experienced people who were looking over my shoulder. Even though I was writing headlines and editing stories, I had much more senior people with lots of experience looking over my shoulder. I don't really know how it is in newsrooms anymore, but my guess would be is that there's just such a push to get stuff out there and get it out quickly. And I'm actually really curious about what goes on in journalism classrooms now at the university level, because it doesn't seem like the things that I was taught are things that I see in journalism now. I mean, one of the key phrases of one of my reporting instructors was, even if your mother tells you it's so, check it out. And I just don't know that there's that level of fact checking anymore. And I don't know if objectivity is valued anymore. Like it pounded into us that we needed to be objective and report the facts and the news and leave our opinions at the front door.
Mm-hmm. So is that more than, is that an integrity thing, or, they're not trained that way, or is it a don't know or a don't care kind of thing?
I can't give you an answer because I haven't been in a journalism classroom in so long. And so I don't speculate or, I don't want to say for sure. My fear is that it's a completely different approach to journalism, that it's now all about advocacy journalism as opposed to a straight reporting of the facts.
Explain what advocacy journalism is.
That's somebody trying to get his or her point across, push his or her agenda, as opposed to, like I said, a straight reporting of the facts.
Right. Well, wouldn't you say, Nancy, that when we're already seeing what's coming out of the colleges and universities, okay, they've had an agenda. They've kind of changed the atmosphere, I guess you could say. And I don't think that journalism is an untouched group of people that are going to come out, thinking differently than what you did, what I did when I was in journalism and back in the day. Because I know exactly when you were talking, all the things you said is exactly what a journalist is supposed to do. I don't think it's being taught in the schools, because you can tell by what journalists we have out there right now.
Yeah, that's. I would have to agree with you on that. Again, I can't verify.
No, I'm right. See, I'm a verifier too, but it would be kind of fun to go sit in one of their classes. You got to admit.
Yeah.
Now, is this article, is this a one-off, or is this a trend that you've noticed, or what can you say about that?
It's a trend. It's definitely a trend. I used to be a news junkie, meaning that I read as many news articles as I could find, and I watched the news, and I listened to the news when I was in the car. I can barely stomach it now, because it's just not news. It's opinions, and so often they get the technical pieces wrong.
And can you do you remember when you started noticing this, or do you remember when it really, really got bad?
I don't know. I would say probably within the last decade. Maybe a little more. I don't know. I don't know. I'm pretty busy. I don't know.
So we're gonna hold you over to the next segment. We're gonna talk a little bit more about this, and specifically, Nancy, what I want to talk about is so what? So what? Why does this matter? I kind of want to play devil's advocate. We've talked about the problem. I think we're all familiar with the problem, but I really want to talk about, why does this matter? Why? So what if they're going to do this? If they can do it if they want to do it. Why does good journalism matter? And we've talked to you a whole segment. You've said a lot of things that I'm sure people agree with. We haven't said anything about politics. None of the listeners know anything about your politics at all. They just know, this is purely a discussion on quality journalism, which I really think is important, and I thank you so much for it. So hang in there. We're going to go into a commercial.
Boy, do you ever wish cleaning your gun was easy? Well, clean, lube, and protect your guns with Seal 1. Seal 1 CLP Plus is natural, non-toxic, and environmentally friendly. You can clean your gun easier, faster, and you'll also smell better, too. One and done with Seal 1. Ask for it by name at your local gun shop, or get some on the web. That's seal1.com. That's seal1.com.
So we're talking to Nancy Lichtman, who is the deputy editor for Leatherneck Magazine. We're talking to her about the state of journalism. Last week we read a piece in Business Insider that was talking about a new AR that's on the market, and it was just atrocious in every way. We attacked it for their lack of knowledge on firearms, and now we are attacking it for its lack of knowledge or ethics or character. I'm not sure. What exactly? How would you describe this? The problem, Nancy?
Well, and I want to make clear, I'm not attacking it. I'm critiquing it.
Okay. We're attacking. You're critiquing. No. It's a critique of a piece. But what would you say? Broadly, would you say it's the character, or how would you generally how would you? What are we critiquing?
The lack of reporting, the failure on the part of the writer to do independent research, to find independent sources. It's essentially an opinion piece that was published on the Daily Beast. So then the Business Insider writer, reporter took that Daily Beast opinion piece and cherry-picked various quotes out of it, gave credit to the Daily Beast, but framed the whole thing as if that was all factual information. There's no I can't find evidence that reporter went and spoke to or had a phone conversation with anybody to verify any of the information in the article.
So Business Insider is you would think the type of information you get from Business Insider is kind of a industry, very very numbers based kind of information, right? Was that an accurate thing to expect?
Yeah. Sure.
Because Business Insider, you'd think that they're not pushing politics. They're certainly shouldn't be pushing an agenda. They're just talking about business. So they were doing a story about a company that is releasing a new product, but that's not how it came out. That's not the result.
No.
But my question is broadly, I mean, so what? So what? If Business Insider wants to do a slanted piece and push their opinion and disguise it as a factual piece, what's the problem? Why shouldn't they be allowed to do that?
Well, nobody's saying they're not allowed to do that.
Right.
And frankly, there's advocacy journalism on many issues and on both sides of those issues. So I certainly don't want to make it seem like I'm pointing fingers only at the left, because it happens on all sides, hence my refusal to watch or listen to news on a regular basis anymore, because it's from all angles, it's about opinions rather than what we used to consider journalism. The basis of it was who, what, where, how, why, when. You get that information in there, and you let the reader determine his or her opinion about a topic. But that's not the way it is anymore. And let's be honest, journalism is a business, and they're out there trying to do the same thing that any other business is doing. They're trying to make money.
So why is it a problem though? Like journalism used to be taught, kind of a pure form of journalism. This is why, do it this way. If you're, just give the facts, just give the information. Don't really give a slant. Why is that a problem? Why things have changed? Why do you think that why do you think pure and real and ethical journalism is important?
Oh, that's a big question to answer in a short radio segment. Why do I think it's a problem? Because I just think it's really important for people to learn. And maybe it starts way back before journalism school that, we need to encourage, maybe as parents, we need to encourage critical thinking skills in our children. And the kind of critical thinking skills that will allow them as they're getting older and when they're adults, to read a news story and come up with, take all the facts and figure out their thoughts on a particular issue. I personally do not like the idea of somebody else cramming their opinion down my throat. Like, I don't want to hear what your opinion, you sitting at the news anchor desk on TV or sitting at your computer terminal in the newsroom. I don't need your opinion. I want to know the information, and I'm going to research it. I'm going to read various articles, listen to various stories, and then I'm going to determine how I feel about a particular issue.
I'll tell everybody, I've known Nancy for 46 years, and I can confirm that she does not like anybody, jamming their opinion down her throat. She's quite capable of making up her own mind. Well, okay, so so our listeners, we run into this all the time, especially gun folks. They get everything wrong. There's a slant. There's an agenda. What do we do? Do we just not read that article, or is there something, from a journalist, is there something that a reader can do to try to change things?
I wish I had the answer to that question. I mean, that has part of this is why I stepped away from the daily newspaper business and why I work for the magazine I work for, and it allows me to tell people's stories rather than have to deal with this kind of, pushing a political agenda. What can readers do? Educate themselves, educate their children, educate their friends, write letters to the editor, not in a antagonistic way, but providing them with the facts. I don't know that 1 or 2 or 25 letters to the editor is going to help, but it's a start.
Now, people
I don't-
people that are reading articles, what do you have a tip? Like, hey, if you're reading a particular article, gun folks that are listeners to the show, they're going to be able to pick out junk articles that are about guns pretty easily. But how do you know? Is there a tip maybe that you can give that people can tell? Like, oh, all right, this is pure opinion. This isn't quality journalism. Are there a couple of dead giveaways, or is it too opaque for that?
I don't know if I could say there are dead giveaways, but I could point out a couple of things from this specific piece that to me were dead giveaways. So,
Okay, go for it.
For example, there's a quote here. It doesn't even matter what the quote says. And then the attribution is the company's website says. Okay, so how does a reader know on which portion of the website? How old is that information? Has it been updated? How does it have to do with the topic that's being written about? There's another place in the article where it's per the company website. Same thing. So what is that really telling you? It's not telling you anything. It's telling you, there was some information on the website, but does it really go along with the topic that's being written about? And again, if here would be a dead giveaway if an article or whatever we're calling this is quoting another article, that's a dead giveaway right there to just stop reading that article. Go to the original. Go to the thing that's being quoted and see if that has value. But to me, if you hadn't asked me to read this, I would have deleted it after the headline and the first paragraph, because it was very obvious to me that this is not legitimate journalism.
So now he's made you read it, and you have an upset stomach.
It's time wasted that I'm not going to get back.
Yeah, he owes you.
Well,
Michael,
it's a good
you
segment, though. That's a good thing. Last question. What's that?
I said, yeah, it's all good for you.
Yeah. Last question. Is there a news source that you recommend? Like, how do people find quality news these days?
Leatherneck Magazine, of course.
Yeah, well, there you go.
No, seriously. I would say the Wall Street Journal, by and large, is fairly objective. I don't want to call out lack of objectivity, but I generally stay away from most TV news. I will say that there are some business news segments that seem to be a little more straight up and down, 5 W's and the H, who, what, where, how, why, when, all of that. I just want the facts.
Right. TV news seems to be like bottom of the barrel, man. Everybody in the news industry seems to just point their nose up at the TV news industry, and I think they've earned it.
Yeah. Well, even when I was in journalism school, those many years ago, all of us who were print journalism majors, we kind of rolled our eyes at those who had declared themselves broadcast journalism majors. I mean, that's probably unfair, but at least they weren't public relations majors.
Oh, you're brutal.
Jeez. Well,
I'm
awesome. Yeah,
right?
Really. Awesome, Nancy. Thank you very much for your perspective and your information on this. Very much appreciated.
You bet.
Yeah. That was cool, right?
Were you ever in journalism?
No.
I was a sports editor.
Oh, wow.
Of my local paper.
Yeah.
Started a hot rod column, do the whole 9 yards. But even as little as that was, and as insignificant as that was, if you put the wrong information in, you're done.
Well, I mean,
but that's the way it used to be.
We do this show, and Joe does a fantastic job on his blogs, but we don't pretend to be unopinionated, which was I feel the worst part of that article. We tell you, hey, look, we're pro-gun, and here's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, but Joe, when you write your articles, because see, that just kind of surprised me. Would you consider your articles news or your opinion?
No, mine are all opinion pieces.
Okay.
And I reference other articles, but what I'm doing is I'm just telling people, hey, don't take my word for it.
Well,
Go look, this is what they
you're
said
not
here.
saying take my word for it because
mine are
I
all
got
opinion,
it.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I took a class in 2018, and I was told don't be biased at all.
Right.
But I was like automatically knowing at that time everyone is biased.
Yeah, that was my whole point. Plus, you're still in that class anyway, right?
No, I graduated.
Did you?
Yeah, I have a bachelor's.
Congratulations. Take a couple days off.
Third time's a charm.
Third time's a charm.
Shut your mouth.
Thanks for watching this clip from Gun Owners Radio. You can watch us live every Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. California time, right here on our YouTube channel, or if you're in the San Diego area, you can listen to us on 1170 a.m. We're also available on your favorite podcast platform for free. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can help restore and protect the Second Amendment, not just in California, but across the country.